And so I said to her, pretentious, moi. Oh, do you remember that one? That was actually, I think, was that in the young... No, not the young ones. Not the 9 o'clock news, maybe. But it was actually delivered like that you never actually hear the joke. Sorry, folks, just tuned in, as you do with podcasts. I wanted you to think we'd just been swapping jokes, me and him. Me being Adrian. He's having a slurp. You're going to slurp, aren't you, loudly? Yeah, I knew that was coming. Just get that sixth sense with you. Anyway, I'm Adrian in the deep south of England, well, southeast of England. And so cold in the frozen Midlands, Shane has to have a cup of hot tea, your hot English tea, on a balmy, what is in the south, a balmy May evening.
You're not allowed to use that word, are you? May evening now, she's going.
Oh, sorry. It's... Yes.
Do you know, I heard a journalist say today, and for anybody who's just tuning in and thinking, hang on a second, what they're talking about, this was recorded on the day that Theresa May finally announced that she was going to step down. I mean, talk about unwelcome guest at the party. But anyway, somebody actually heard a journalist say, how ironic that the end of May will bring the end of May. And I thought, just read your script back before you go on air and go, I'm not saying that, I'll sound like a right Swede. Do you know what I mean?
Did you say Swede?
Swede, as in the veg.
I was going to say, we don't want to insult some of our listeners. Some of my favourite listeners are in Scandinavia. I'll have you know.
Listen, this is the podcast that has the almighty, all-powerful Adrian Lacey, who, if he wants a thing taken off air, if he decides that a piece of comedy is not worthy of his time, by the swish of his hand, he has it removed. We got the news this week that that Warren, the show that we reviewed way back in episode 35 of the Comedy Slab podcast, has been decommissioned. Is no more. Will not get a second series, in the words of Alan Partridge. But,
it's like a nuclear reactor is being decommissioned.
Because Adrian didn't like it. Hey, here's the thing. I never understood. You might be able to answer this question. Here's a quick question for you.
Try me.
So the BBC says, right, we don't want a second series of
Give me a second series, you... Okay.
You git. Right? So they say... So why... Is there anything to stop anybody else coming in? Like, you know, Dave, which is part owned by the BBC, so probably a bad example, but something like Sky saying, actually... We'll take the second series, because it happens rarely, doesn't it? But doesn't
it has happened? Yes. I'm going to struggle to think of examples, so you might get there before me. Did Birds of a Feather, I think, swap sides? No. Yeah, that's an example.
It went from BBC to ITV, didn't it?
Yeah. So obviously it can be done. I would say ultimately, I'm not not a legal eagle, but I think it would be what's in the small print of the deal and the rights and all of that.
Read your contract. The reason I ask is because I had a Twitter exchange with Alan Davis, the comedian.
Oh, yes.
A while ago.
I remember this. You have referred to it in more than one slab.
Yeah.
Do please remind us.
We should slab that, actually, chefs. Or is it chef or chefs?
Chef square-shaped soups.
And just saying, why didn't he? And he said, because they wouldn't commission it. And you kind of think, well, is there anything stopping you from going and just, like, shopping it around the place? Because... or even to get it made for like an internet thing now, or I'm surprised that doesn't happen more often.
Yes, although someone of Alan Davis's stature, maybe you can't go to the internet because that feels like a come down.
But you say that, but that's what Partridge did, didn't it? Because Alan Partridge,
good example.
Mid-Morning Matters was a Foster's thing. It was for the internet alone. It was
Foster's Lager sponsored it, didn't they?
Yeah, internet advertising thing that was. So yeah, never say. Just see the size of the check.
Never say never. Well, exactly, and of course, I realise now, eating my words furiously, that of course you can have HD on the YouTube these days. So
yeah.
And of course, audiences, they've got them, haven't they? And you've got a global audience. So yes, I take it all back. If you could edit out that phrase where I look a bit silly, I'd be very grateful if it's you doing the edit this week. Makes you look more sensible, though, strangely.
I know where to start the edit. Where do I end it?
Read your contract. Anyway, shall we tell the nice ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, because actually, no. Is this down as a sort of parental guidance one? It's got a few F and Jeffs in it.
No, we're on the whole. I think there's only 2 episodes that have ever had to have an explicit doofer on them because
we're clean. But no, I'm just thinking of the show we're slabbing. Anyway, it does have the odd. It's got 1 F in it and 1 C, but of a religious nature.
Right.
Anyway, the show is
What's
Mum.
that, the Red Sea?
It's just parties.
It's in the Bible.
It must be all right then. Anyway, so yes, it's Mum series. Pay attention. Mum series 3, episode 1. I know you know. Don't say yeah like you're hearing this for the first time. I'm speaking to them, not to you.
What we're doing here, we actually the comedy
I'm
thing
getting to that. Back in your box.
I'm trying to help.
The comedy slab is a slab on which we put a different comedy each week, and slab being the metaphor for dissecting it, seeing what parts twitch, what parts might be beyond redemption. Please note Martin Clunes with Warren, and all that sort of jazz. That's sort of explained it.
Let it go. You got your way.
Move
let
on.
It go.
No, I can't let it go. I wouldn't let it lie. Only because you liked it and you think you was robbed.
I watched the rest of it, I watched the whole series.
Briefly, we started talking about the show we're going to slab this week, and then it's back to you, isn't it?
Sorry.
Did I do it? I did it, didn't I? My fault. Anyway, so yeah, we're slabbing Mum. I would say a Lesley Manville vehicle. I mean, she is the star of the show. I mean, she plays Mum, so the clue is in the title. And I'm not allowed to ask you at this stage what you made of it. Can I ask you at least, though, Shane?
Awful.
Whether you...
What?
Yeah. What is the quality of your reviewing? No. Can I ask you, have you seen Series 1, Series 2, or any parts thereof?
No. I did say, didn't I? I said, can I have a couple of weeks and I'll go back and I'll watch
it.
Series 1
yeah. It's all coming back to me now. That was a long time ago, then.
No, I didn't in the end. And I didn't need to, actually, in fairness. I mean, it's interesting you say. So what's her name? Lesley Manville, is it? Yeah, which I've never... Have you seen her in anything else before this or not?
No, but she's been going a little while. And, yeah, I mean, she's had hits going back to the 80s, I think. But I have to say... I've only just come across her like yourself with the advent of Mum. Although, unlike you, I've seen the whole of Series 1 and 2. Not to sound superior.
She's done a lot of work with Mike Leigh, hasn't she? Who I think wrote one of the finest comedies of TV comedies of all time. One-off TV play comedies.
Abigail's...
May.
Oh, Nutsy May, right.
Nutsy May. Come on, Candice Marie. And one of my favourite character names, the Brummie, who is camping next to him and his girlfriend, he's called Finger and she's called Onk.
Budge. Onk. Is that even legal?
And the first thing the Brummies unpack is the football, and I just think that is just so true to life. I don't know, he must have studied Brummies somewhere, I don't know.
He read it in a book.
So yeah, I realised she worked. But the one thing that I didn't realise is who'd written it. Who
Stefan,
I know him.
Yeah, sorry, I've got my own pronunciation here.
Golaszewski. Yeah. Who I know from being one of the 4 people who were in Cowards. Do you remember the one that I go on about all the while with Tim Key?
Well, I remember you going on about it. We haven't slabbed it, have we?
No. It was a radio series and they did 3 episodes on the TV. It was Tom Basden.
Your favourites, Tim Key.
Yeah. It's amazing, isn't it? Tom Basden. Lloyd Wolfe.
Right.
So when I saw he'd written it, I kind of thought, oh, okay. And I found out he'd written it in between watching it the first time and watching it the second time. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't really enjoy it that much the first time round.
But then you had to enjoy it the second time round because you're so loyal.
Well, I'll apply myself because I do like this guy's work, and I think he's. But he wrote something. He wrote Him and Her. Did you ever see that?
No, I did look at the list of stuff he'd done, but I hadn't seen any of it.
No, and
I knew you'd wake up when either. Tim Key was mentioned and Tom Basden.
And Tom Basden,
that's catnip to you, isn't it, Shane?
It's what?
Catnip.
Yeah. I must admit, I am a big fan of the their work. But yeah, when I saw he'd written it, I don't know. I think the writing clever in places, but I thought I wouldn't have recognised it as his writing, which is quite interesting. I wouldn't have. I like to think I'd recognise Tom Basden's writing. I'd like to think I'd recognise Tim Key's writing. Maybe I wouldn't. I don't know.
Well, there is such a thing as writing in different styles, isn't there? And obviously writing for different genres and different audiences.
Mm.
Anyway,
this is very gentle, isn't it? This, do you think it's very gentle?
Yeah, it's bang in the mainstream, barring, as I say, the odd rudery. Sorry, going back to the previous point about Lesley Manville's previous appearances, would you believe she goes back to 1976, Emmerdale, as Rosemary Kendall.
Wow.
Softly, Softly Task Force, 1974. Playing Janet. Oh, no, sorry, that's Dr. Finley's accent. Janet.
Softly, Softly. That was, what's his name, wasn't it? Right, blessed.
Yes. And that was the second thing she did. So it wasn't even the first thing. First thing was a TV series called Village Hall, which passed me by.
Yeah, mate. Was she in Emmerdale or Emmerdale Farm? Was it Emmerdale Farm?
Well, see, IMDb, I think computers can't cope with changing a show's name mid-horse, midstream.
Right.
One of the two. So it's down as Emmerdale, but yeah, it would have been Emmerdale Farm, wouldn't it?
It would have been.
Good point, well made, but a bit tedious.
That. Well, I only know because my mum was a huge fan of Emmerdale.
I worked on what was it, an episode of was it Bottom? Yeah. So Rick Mayall and Ade Edmondson, of course. But they had some mates round. And one of them, I can't remember, he just creased me up. But I can't remember the character name. But he says at one point, they've got rid of the name Farm in Emmerdale Farm. It's just Emmerdale now. Gives them more room to do more storyline. Absolutely deadpan for the sake of one syllable. I mean, it's not even like they refer to the title in the show, do they? Because on EastEnders, they don't say, "Oh, do you know we're in EastEnders? I didn't realise." Anyway, look, it must be... Sorry.
I was going to say maybe it meant that it did less agricultural storylines.
Well, yeah, that as well.
Because that's what, as a kid, that's what I remember with Emmerdale Farm. There was a lot of lambing and a lot of...
Was there?
Carrying and...
You sure you're not confusing it with the Archers?
Horsing. And
that could get very embarrassing. I'm trying to think of an animal where that would go horribly wrong and not very mainstream. Yeah. Trust you to get there first. Shall we move swiftly on? Well, we haven't told the nice ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, well, older boys and girls, stop it. And you're not meant to laugh at your own jokes. First rule of comedy.
It was the first time I'd heard it.
Did you know? Yeah, that makes a change, doesn't it? Original material for you. Do you know what the second rule of comedy is?
Go on.
It's like Fight Club. Don't mention the fact there are rules.
Okay.
It's nearly like Fight Club, not quite. Anyway, we will play you eventually 3 different audio clips from the show. There wouldn't be an awful lot of point playing the same one 3 times. The first of which I will get us into as soon as I can remember how we get there. So it's about a minute or so. Each of the clips are roughly that long, and they give you a flavour of the show if you haven't seen it, or a reminder if you have. I thought the first clippage should be from pretty close to the top. Now, just quickly, background. Series 3 differs from Series 1 and 2. Series 1 and 2, in terms of the sort of timeline, they were set, they both took... it's a while since I've seen them now. They're both spaced out over the period of a year, the stories. I'm looking to you.
They draw from a month, don't they, of the year?
That's it.
I didn't realise her husband's died.
Yes. And
that's her coming to terms with the changes in her life, isn't she? I didn't know that when I watched it the first time round, because we watch it twice at least generally to do this podcast, and I didn't realise that until I got the synopsis to put on the blurb for our podcast kind of thing. So I thought, okay, that kind of makes sense, because I wanted to just come to it completely, fresh. And having no idea. I just happened across it. Boom, and there he is. I'm watching it, kind of thing, and I think it worked quite well in that way, actually, because the way things were explained and that. He was quite straightforward. But yeah, but this time it's over a week. It's a whole week, isn't it? I think
it is indeed. Yeah. So each episode of the series is a different day,
right?
And they are at a country retreat, I suppose would be a term to use. So this is pretty much Lesley Manville as Cathy, the widow. It's pretty much her arrival, and then the next voice you hear, if I've remembered it in the right order, is Pauline, her sister-in-law.
Hi! Sorry to keep you waiting. I was by the pool. How was your journey?
Oh, fine. Yeah, a bit of trouble on the M25, but...
I was wondering where you'd got to as I was sitting by the pool.
Oh, sorry, Jason texted Derek to let him know, but...
It's fine. I was just worried about you as I was sitting by the pool.
Oh.
It's got a pool.
Right. Oh, yes, sorry, love.
Hello.
It's amazing.
Yeah, this is incredible. Thanks for inviting us, Pauline.
Well, it's just got the 3 reception rooms and the 1 swimming pool and 4.5 acres of grounds, but it'll do. This way. Gravel.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Oh, here's the birthday boy.
Here she is, big sis. Oh. Welcome to our little home for the week.
Choose.
Now, you're going to have to forgive me through the rest of this podcast, because knowing that you've seen series 1 and 2, I'm going to ask you questions like you wrote the thing.
Yeah, but bear in mind, I have the opposite of total recall. I have total memory loss.
Right.
And, allied to that, it has been quite a while since I've seen any of those. But yeah, try me by all means.
The first thing I wanted to know was the impression that I got, and even the second time round I was looking out for it to see whether I was getting a false impression, but the impression was that it was Pauline's house, that this is her new house and she lived there. And then it becomes apparent that it's not her house. And
yeah.
I just... Was I picking up wrong signals there, or was that...
Well, when I watched it a second time, no, because I don't think we've seen their house before. I made the same assumption as you, and then when I watched it a second time through, there's loads of clues that that's not the case. But I think you are meant to... I think it's not a problem if you think... Because she's sort of trying to pass it off as hers. What you probably established very quickly was that she is somewhat money, wealth, power obsessed. She is the baddie of the piece. The only one.
Why
really.
is she so passive aggressive to Cathy, the Lesley Manville's character? What is? I mean, is it just because it's just a one-upmanship thing? Is it, or do they not get on? Or
I think the mum character, Cathy, gets on with everyone. I mean, my observation is she just kind of glides over everything in a kind of guileless way. I was going to ask you if you thought the same, and I think it's interesting that you haven't seen series 1 and 2, but she never bites back, Cathy, does she?
No.
I think my guess is that Pauline's chasing riches and chasing happiness through riches, and she resents the fact that Cathy's perfectly happy and content with much less.
Right.
I think that's what that's about.
And because the other thing that confused me is that she's just got divorced, hasn't she, Pauline?
Yeah, I think before series 1 starts notionally. So
you don't know any of that backstory in that sense, then, do you?
She just keeps referring to
a divorce settlement.
Yeah. So Derek is Cathy's brother, and he's, to say the least, sort of henpecked and trying to keep up with her desire for wealth. But Derek's a decent guy, so he's ended up, made a bad decision, in my humble opinion.
God, just imagine how annoying I would be to watch this with. Just imagine if you and I sat down to watch. You'd have murdered me, to be honest with you. By the time
I might do that anyway, but
I think
it's a lifestyle choice.
I can still be annoying from here. I think no problem.
I think so. Yeah.
What's his name? Her brother, Derek.
Derek. That's Cathy's
What
brother,
an interesting character he is, Ross Boatman. I was racking my brains trying to where do I know him from? Where do I know him from?
Well, the biggest thing I could find was Paddington, but presumably he's a voice in the animation rather than a fluffy bear.
No, back in the day, he was in London's Burning.
Oh, right, which I never saw. But...
Oh, it was massive, wasn't it, at the time, though? But also, do you know, he not only is he an actor, he's also a professional poker player.
Oh, I saw that, yeah. That's probably why we haven't seen him more on screen. He probably makes more money as a poker player.
Well, I wondered if he'd had a losing streak, and that's why he's doing this.
Well, I think yeah, well, that's why he married Pauline.
Yeah.
But she's got the money now.
I do like him, though. I think he's
very lovable, yeah.
Pauline, he's just got on my nerves. The Pauline character got on
she's
very
meant
well
to.
played.
She's meant to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say very well played, and Dorothy Atkinson plays Pauline, the sister-in-law. But he's great. Like, you know, right from the moment you first see him, where he's when they said, "Are you all right?" And he went, "Yeah, I've just been sitting by a fire reading," and he holds up a newspaper. A newspaper. and you know he hasn't, but he's just like pretending in this great big house that he's doing all these great big things, doesn't he? It was just, I did kind of like that as characters. The one that really annoyed me was Kelly, though, the daughter-in-law.
Although but when she talks later, I mean, you know, there is a potential massive spoiler here, isn't there? But you probably got it straight away.
I did, yeah.
Yeah, so...
I mean, it is very obvious.
Let's just say she's... Yeah.
You've chosen the clip, which I thought actually was one of the nicest bits of... It was one of the nicest scenes in there, one of the nicest bits of dialogue in there, I thought was lovely. But I just... Don't you tire of that kind of... Oh, I talk like this, I'm the dippy one. Because I've never met anybody like that. Ever.
Well, there are brighter people and less bright people, but actually I ended up... Yeah, she was annoying me up until the point that she says what she says later when it transpires. Well, we read between the lines that she's not avoiding alcohol because she's on antibiotics. There's another reason a woman avoids alcohol at certain times. And the way she talks about herself as, you know, feeling wretched and unattractive and all of that, I couldn't help but feel some sympathy then. So she was suddenly less annoying. But obviously you weren't won over.
It's not so much her I'm annoyed with, I think, in the sense of the way she's playing it. Well, I don't know whether it's a directorial thing. I don't know if it's the way Stefan's written the part. I don't know what it is, but I just think it's a bit lazy, this kind of, you know, writing and for those old enough to remember the television series Bread, writing a kind of Aveline character, you know, where they have to have a silly voice and it has to be a bit squeaky, and it's all just a bit 1970s to me. I don't know. I just kind of think, oh, you know, you can write the dialogue and she can still say the lines without doing it in the silly voice and, oh, I'm a bit thick, I am. You know, kind of the Stacey Solomon sort of thing.
So what you're saying is more a performance thing. Is that what you're...
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. Well, I'm guessing she's been directed to do it like that. In fact, I was so annoyed by it. I even found her being interviewed in real life to find out what she talks like and how much of a stretch. Because you know what it's like when you see these soap actors a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And you think, oh, they're a really good actor, and then you hear them in real life and they're exactly the same.
And well, that's what surprised me working on EastEnders years ago, that how some of them aren't. Yeah, it's not a huge acting stretch.
Yeah, I mean, when you think people like John Altman, who, when you talk to... Did you work with John?
Not knowingly, no. I'm thinking
Nick
Robert
Cotton.
Altman. Oh, yeah.
No, he was nothing like Nick Cotton, was he?
Didn't the original actor die, though? Was that the one that they changed actors?
Don't think so. I think John was always... But I mean,
sure?
I've seen him then do musicals. I've seen him do Chicago.
Right.
You know, and that guy can act. I mean, there's no question about it. But yeah, equally, there are others, and you kind of think that you're not even breaking a sweat. You're just being you know, kind of thing, and doing that. Anyway, I had a look at Lisa McGrillis, who plays Kelly, and
she's frightful.
She's nothing like, you know, the character that Kelly that she's playing. But yeah, I don't know.
Certainly, the photo looks very different. You can see.
Yeah. Well, having said that, she was talking to Lorraine Kelly, which we know is all an act anyway, which we found out from when she won her Inland Revenue case.
I couldn't possibly comment.
So yeah.
Not sure where the legal lines are on that one.
Yeah, no, well, she did. She won a case. She won a case by saying that her everything is a performance, which is true, really. I mean, it is, isn't it? You know, when you work on the radio, it's even if you're being true to yourself, it's generally a bigger, more energetic version of yourself, isn't it? You know, it's.
Well, I couldn't be a less energetic version of myself. I'd be comatose.
Yes. You go, what's the matter with this blooming radio? It's gone quiet again.
It's gone dead. It's snoring.
And that was the Bee Gees.
The Midlands Light Radio Orchestra. Anyway, so I suppose I should have got it earlier, although we're reading between the lines now. Your headline, because I think we need to revive this Comedy Slab tradition of, before we go to the audio clip number 2, a headline as to your reaction to the show, in a nutshell.
Mum's not the word. I always try and write one that's like a tabloid
Witty.
headline. No, my headline, I suppose, would be I spent the second viewing, and I really didn't want to watch it a second time because I felt it was that slow and lumbering and mediocre that. And when I say mediocre, I mean the acting was great, the scripting was great. It looked lovely, and I spent the rest of the second viewing thinking, why am I not getting more out of this? And I still don't know.
That's a very long headline. It's going to have to be in very small type.
It's a broadsheet.
I've been reading a paper.
I've been reading a newspaper. Yeah. Can you relate to any of that or not?
It was the
Because you're a
reverse for
fan,
me.
aren't you?
Well, I'm not a diehard fan, and actually, trade secret. First time I viewed this, hang on, I'm trying to think whether I. No, I have only seen it this episode twice. First time I viewed it, I thought, I feel like slagging this off, having set it as homework. And then second time, absolute transformation. This afternoon, I must confess, very close to recording, but I live life on the edge, you know me. And on the edge of a housing estate. And and I totally different. I was really enjoying the pauses. There's so much. I think there's a hell of a lot of subtext in the pauses. As you say, great performances. And at the end, there's a shot of Michael, who is the sort of love interest for Cathy, and we should explain he's lost his wife, hasn't he? So
I didn't know that. I didn't realise that.
I believe so. But he's been friends for years with Cathy anyway, so he's helped her through her bereavement. But there's a shot at the end. I mean, it was absolutely built for widescreen, where they are so far apart physically, and yet we have hints that they finally got it together, which they didn't, it has to be said. Spoiler alert, in series 1 and 2. Anyway, shall we go on to our second clip?
Better had, haven't we? Better had. Sorry, we're long overdue. That's
Yes. Well, it's both of us.
Chatting.
Essentially, I wanted to squeeze as many characters into these 3 clips. So we move on now to Cathy's parents, who I think can be a bit of fun. They're arriving, and we hear their reaction to this vast, rambling country mansion that they're going to spend the week in.
Hello, Nan, Grandad.
Hi, Red. Hi, Maureen.
I'm thirsty.
Oh, dear.
She's had too many Pringles.
I've had too many Pringles, Cathy. Stupid how many Pringles I've had.
Hello, everyone. Oh, this is Kumar, the owner of the house.
Hello, welcome.
Hello, nice to meet you. You've got such a lovely home.
Thank you.
But Kumar and his family are sadly residing at the back of the house, aren't you?
Yes, just during the rental period. The kids are away at boarding school, so it's just the 2 of us.
It's not so nice back there, is it?
It's cosy.
But you need the money, don't you, from the rental?
Yeah. Shall I show you the...
Did I mention the size of my divorce settlement?
You did, yes.
Yes.
I'll show you the barbecue.
Reg,
Oh, come on.
big, isn't it?
Yeah.
You got Wi-Fi?
We do, yes.
They've got Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Wi-Fi.
I spent a lot of time not getting stuff, and like the in-laws there, the older couple, I didn't get a lot of what they said. I didn't. When I say I didn't get it, it didn't. I'm sitting there thinking, is this supposed to be funny? I don't understand. He does this thing a bit later on, doesn't he? The father-in-law that says, if I was Dutch, I'd kill myself, I'd erase myself. And I'm thinking, all the scenes that they were in, I didn't kind of, there was no comedy value in it at all. And I didn't know whether it was supposed to be funny. And there was this thing where the younger couple, her son and daughter-in-law, I think they said it to Michael first of all, and they said, "Oh, Michael's just made a joke. That's really well done, Michael, and that was really funny." And then I think Derek makes that joke about the TV is so sophisticated. If you ask it nicely, it'll make you a latte. And she says, "Oh, that," and kind of does the same thing again. "Oh, that's really funny. That is. Oh, that's a really funny joke. I'll be laughing all day at that." I didn't get any of that. I'm kind of thinking, what?
No,
what am I watching?
I kind of cut her some slack. Maybe that was one of the things that didn't get better with the second viewing. It is a bit odd because, I mean, if something's funny, you laugh is the bottom line, really, isn't it? And you don't need to tell someone it's funny. So I was sitting there thinking, right, okay, is there some subtext here? I know we're meant to think she's not Brain of Britain, but was it something to do with her condition that we read between the lines about? Medical condition.
I spent a lot of time, like you've hit the nail on the head there by saying about a subtext. I spent a lot of time thinking, is this going over my head? Am I supposed to find this funny now? Is that? And it kind of ruined it a bit because I was like, my brain's going 10 to the dozen, thinking, like you say, is there something I'm missing here?
Yeah, I haven't got the answer to that one.
No, the only thing I can think of is that if you watch Cowards, that I mentioned earlier on with Tim Key and Tom Basden and Lloyd Wolfe, you can see they are fans of like kind of surrealist comedy.
Is that Lloyd Wolfe of Wolf Hall? No, okay. How can you tell that I write for this series? See, it's subtext. You're not getting it, are you?
Do you know what I mean? And I'm thinking, well, maybe is he trying to be surreal with it, or?
I don't think. No, I don't. I wouldn't associate surreality. Is there such a word? There must be such a word. It'd be surreal if there wasn't. I wouldn't associate surrealness with Kelly. No, that would be rather surreal and ironic, frankly.
Did you have moments like that in series 1 and 2?
Now that's where I'm going to plead the Fifth Amendment or whatever it is that excuses my poor memory. I know I thought I've certainly found Kelly annoying at various stages in series 1 and 2, and not surprisingly, she's not a different character there. It is laid on as 'twere with I nearly said a trowel. To quote your favourite playwright from Birmingham, as Al Murray says, "God, Shakespeare, he must have been hard. Bloke from Birmingham, writing poetry." Okay, just outside of Birmingham. It's all that. I see. I thought you'd be more forgiving once you'd found out it was written by your mate Stefan, but obviously not.
Only because, and I'm not being critical, but only because I spent a large amount of time thinking, hey, I don't get that, or am I supposed to get that, or is that supposed to be funny, or I missed the joke there, do I need to go back, or and that's kind of ruined it for me a bit, the whole normally you can tell, can't you, if it's dialogue that will help something along or move the story along, or it's a plot point or something like that, you can kind of tell, this isn't meant to be funny. Yeah. But I was kind of left hanging with it a lot of the time.
But maybe, I mean, look, Stefan will be a bright guy, won't he? So he's got a sort of footlights pedigree, hasn't he, from Cambridge? Yeah. So nothing will be won't have been thought through. whether or not you or I find it funny or understandable is another thing entirely. But I am confident that everything will have been chewed over. So, yeah, it's there for a reason, but you and I can't work out as mere mortals what the reason is.
And I think if you're having to try that hard, I think you're missing it, aren't you? Really, in a way, as a performance that people are saying, "No, I'm not really sure about that. I don't know."
Well, maybe that gets to my next point. What I was going to say was, we found out somewhat belatedly. My wife, from whom regular listeners will know I'm now separated, but she had this rare skill for someone who doesn't work in the media. She indulged me up to a point. Obviously not the highest point, otherwise we'd still be together. But reading my trade magazine broadcast at the weekends, she became incredibly good at guessing the ratings of any show I threw at her. She needed the background, like what channel was it on at what time. But she would be there within 0.1 million viewers. Quite incredible. Right. And we laughed our socks off about it. So I'm going to ask you how big are ratings? What the size of the audience for this episode was?
God, I wouldn't even. Do you know? I wouldn't even know now because I mean, you and I. You and I grew up in the Saturday night, 29 million brigade because there were only 3 channels.
Are you being
channels.
Served? On a Tuesday night we get 18 million.
Yeah, there were 3 channels and no video recorders. It was the perfect storm, wasn't it?
But we'd play with hoops in the street, wouldn't we?
yeah. I mean, I didn't.
You were sophisticated.
I had a stick, and my dad told me it was a hoop, but it was on holiday. And
he used to do the joke, "What's brown and sticky?" And you'd say, "A stick."
A stick. So, I mean, nowadays, I don't even know what's considered good, really, in terms of rating. I don't know. When did it go out live?
That's the giveaway. See, you're asking the question my wife always used to ask. It's a reasonable question, but it's a big clue as to the ratings for those. Sorry, I must move this along. Wednesday night, BBC 2, 10 o'clock.
Right. Oh, 2 million?
It's actually 1.1.
Right.
So you haven't got...
So half that.
You haven't got my wife's gift, so I'm going to sue you for divorce.
It was the first one. Oh, come on, give me a chance. How long were you together?
Okay. We had 8 or 9 years of practicing ratings.
Oh, well, I'll see me in 10 years' time, and if I'm still rubbish, then you might want to leave me.
Well, the ratings will be rubbish by then. But here's the thing, BBC 2, why is it on BBC 2? I just wonder whether they think it's slightly too cerebral for BBC 1. But actually, I think it's massive.
Difference?
Yeah, it does. Massive.
Why? I mean, I can't.
There are people who haven't discovered that you could change from one channel to another. It is mad, but
I see
true.
On Twitter when there's an international football match on, and they go, "I can't believe they put it on BBC 1," and I'm thinking, I can't believe you're using electricity to moan about this, you Swede. Why don't you just churn the channel? Or equally, put the football on BBC 2. Who cares?
It's a known phenomenon. You can see it. I mean, the executives who pore over the ratings, you could see it. I mean, you instantly you can halve an audience by moving from BBC 1 to BBC 2.
That's just
of course,
bonkers,
the reverse.
isn't it?
Yeah, but the reverse is true. They should have put it. In my view, it's BBC 1 material, and also 10 o'clock's too late. Now, of course, there is such a thing as catch up, and the world has changed, and so I think it will pick up. It might pick up another nearly 1 million, I would think.
All right, here's the $64,000 question, or the 1.1 million viewers question.
Yeah.
Do you know, how does that compare with the first episode of Series 2 or the first episode of Series 1? And are they going in a downward trend, an upward trend, or are they remaining the same?
No, see, I've got to kick myself because I haven't done that research. And the thing is, it can become a self-fulfilling prophecy because if, say, Series 2 didn't do quite as well as 1... then you would get a later slot, and then you start the slide.
Right.
But my hunch is they're throwing it away, in my view. That's the gut feeling. And it seems a shame. But, the things you've just pointed out, they still stand, and they might make people on BBC 1 go, huh? a bit more.
All right.
I don't know.
In your view, then, who would the people who would watch this? What else would they watch? What would be their favourite other than Warren, obviously, which was just brilliant.
Let it lie.
I couldn't let it go, could I?
Couldn't.
Other than Warren, if you said to them, right, okay, you really like Mum, but what's your number one favourite? You know, what would they say? Last of the Summer Wine?
Your favourite ever?
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess. So
I was going to say that the iPlayer app, I'm just trying to find it now. It made recommendations along the lines of, if you like Mum, you'll like this, but I can't.
Okay.
I switched my mobile off, but let's have a quick look.
But in your opinion, though, who do you envisage sitting there? I mean, because to me, it's people who would watch something like As Time Goes By.
Well, that suggests an older profile.
Which I think it is, don't you? Though, which is why I was really surprised that Stefan, what's his chops, had written it because I thought he was kind of cutting edge.
Well, yeah, but it's fine to change your style, try a different audience.
I wonder if that's why it doesn't work, though, or I wonder if that's why you're left thinking, I don't understand that bit.
Well, perhaps he's trying to shoehorn a slightly edgier thing into a mainstream format.
Yeah.
I can't find it in the time available, but it did come up with a suggestion. Yeah, if you're not careful, you can end up, as I think you might be hinting at, with the worst of both worlds, that you alienate people who are expecting a sort of linear family sitcom, what I've called in previous comedy slabs, Ding Dong, Hi Honey, I'm Home.
Yeah.
And the people who want a sort of, I don't know, something that throws everything up in the air, something more BBC Three.
So what's your gut feel then? Do you think the people who will watch this would sit down and enjoy Mrs. Brown's Boys or
don't know,
Citizen Khan or My Family or Outnumbered? Where does the audience lie? Do you think?
Yeah, maybe Outnumbered is. That's down to my hunch. We mustn't forget to play out the third clip, by the way. But do you have an answer to your own question?
Well, if it's Outnumbered, I'm surprised I liked it as much as I did, because I mean that's my idea of televisual hell. Really?
Now you know how I felt.
I feel about Outnumbered about how you feel about ITV.
It's got all the things you hate most. People from London being bourgeois, hasn't it?
And kids, smarty kids. who I want to,
I'm going to guess that your newborn darling Annie is not going to drama school anytime soon.
If I want to watch smart ass kids, I'd go and watch
Rosie
Malone, wouldn't I? Do you know what I mean, or something? I don't. And they're all long haired as well. I hate boys with long hair. It's not right.
Just because you've got no hair. Right, before your blood pressure goes through the roof and you have a medical event, as I think we probably have to call them that. Oh, right, okay. Yeah. In which case, we'll do it anyway. Let's get on to our third and final clip, and apologies for the delay. And this is part of that scene that you referred to earlier with Kelly, who you sort of like but don't like, but quite like in this scene, talking about a colleague of hers to our mum, who is, of course, Cathy, played by Lesley Manville.
One of my friends from Sainsbury's, who you don't know, she wasn't at my birthday. She's a little bit sort of pregnant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Just 6 weeks, 4 days or something like that. And she was asking me, and I said I'd ask you because you know everything. You're basically the best person I've ever met. Have I told you that?
You might have mentioned it, yeah.
Yeah. Well, she was wondering whether, when you're as pregnant as she is, 6 weeks, 4 days or thereabouts, whether it's normal to get, little pains in your tummy.
How little are they?
They're just little pains, just sort of twinges and a few little aches down here.
And do they make her dizzy, or does she have to sit down when she has them, or...?
No, I don't think so. They just sort of twinge a little bit.
I think that sounds pretty normal.
And therein lies the problem with this series for me, is that you get a scene like that, beautiful writing, beautiful acting, and then you're left going to another scene and you're trying to make sense of it. I don't. It was a bit of a roller coaster for me in a way, because you kind of think, oh, that was great. Then the next scene you think, oh, I'm not so sure. And they really played the part well, where you did feel for Michael, didn't you? Her friend, who, as you say, they alluded to the fact that him and Cathy had kind of got it on, and he was like a real outsider because he couldn't be close to Cathy because she didn't want her son to know. And I thought they played that beautifully as well. So there's lots of wonderful human moments in the whole thing, Adrian, but I was left confused more than I was left impressed, I think, was the problem.
By the way, sorry, due to a clerical error, well, an oversight really, I didn't manage to squeeze Michael into any of the clips, although he's rather marvellous. The performance, do you not think?
I thought you'd like him. He's a Marxist. I thought...
I have to say, as soon as I saw his acting, I thought, there's the acting of a good, old-fashioned, honest-to-goodness Marxist.
Peter Mullan, you don't often see that in people's biographies, do you? He's a Marxist. You think, oh, you've got to admire his honesty.
He's played lots of baddies, hasn't he?
What a great voice. I could listen to his voice all week.
That's like your Bill Mitchell. Cue Bill Mitchell.
Yeah. Funnily enough, I was looking him up, and Peter Mullan, he was in a thing called Tyrannosaur, which was something that was made by an old neighbour of mine, Paddy Considine, who lives just across the way in just outside Burton-on-Trent. He used to live on my road, as it were.
Right.
And I used to see him out walking his dog with his shades on in case the paparazzi came. And because he
wouldn't have known it from Adam, I have to say.
Paddy Considine, he's a fabulous actor. But the really weird thing is that he did a lot with Shane Meadows. You ever heard of Shane Meadows?
I think I know the name.
He did This Is England and things like that.
Yeah.
And I think
he's director-writer, isn't he?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, I've read an interview with him, yeah.
He's from Utoxeter, which is not this kind of...
Damn Utoxeter, damn Marjorie.
Yeah, damn Marjorie, damn Utoxeter to hell and back. But the really weird thing about Paddy was that he'd do that. He'd go off on a shoot, and he'd be in The Bourne Supremacy or something. And he'd go off and go to Hollywood and shoot for 2 months, and then come back and he'd be in my street walking the dog.
With shades on, though, to be fair.
Unbelievable.
It's only a job, isn't it, at the end of the day?
Yeah, I guess so. It is, yeah. Yeah, he's a nice guy, though. Nice guy. Really down to earth, real family man, and that's what was interesting to him, really, more than anything. But yeah, it's got to be that time we give the old scores on the doors in it.
Absolutely, Ms. Ford. It's probably my turn to go first, isn't it? I seem to recall I haven't taken the brave step before, and of course I haven't prepped this, but I am going with 3.5 because I want to be generous to it because I think it's got a generous heart. I take on board and agree with a lot of what you've said about confusions. Somehow, I'm gonna be generous about those in that I think someday I might understand it, and I'm more inclined to think it could be me. And but I could be wrong, of course.
Do they mean me? They surely do.
They do.
I won't harp on about my thoughts because I think I've explained them ad nauseum. But I would just say 2.5 for me.
Said with a sigh, actually, not just said, but sighed out.
Yeah, I really wanted to like it. To be honest with you, I really did. I wanted to like it more than I did, and I promise though that I will go back to the start of Series 1 now.
You've got to.
Just for pleasure, just to see. I'll give Series 1 at least a bash.
I hope it is pleasure. We don't know that it will be, but shouting at Kelly.
Not as homework or anything like that, but I will give it a... So anyway, so it gets a 6 out of 10 for Mum.
Yeah. Glad you did the maths. I'm too tired to add up things with halves in.
Quite reasonable, quite reasonable. Shall I give you homework for next week then, very quickly, before you drop off and bang your head on the microphone?
I am agog.
Are you?
The nation needs more gogs, yes.
We do need more gogs around here. There aren't enough. I was just thinking
We're
on the way in.
gogless. Oh, sorry, not gogless, goggles.
We're not gogglers, but there is a severe lack of gogs.
Yeah.
It is a BBC Three offering, so God knows where they show this these days. It's probably...
it's on that internet, electric internet.
Some broadcast on the side of a refrigerator somewhere. Or
Side of a bus.
Yeah. But it is a programme called, and it's a brand new offering, I think, called Back to Life. Have you seen it?
Oh I'm going to laugh again because, yes, you set Ghosts just as I'd seen Ghosts, and I had Ghosts lined up for a future week, and I had this one, Back to Life, lined up. You rotter. I've got to do more thinking.
Oh, you're joking?
No, we're obviously of a piece.
Because it's a new one, isn't it? And I really like Daisy Haggard, who was the star of this particular vehicle. And the reason I like her, I saw. You didn't see the remake of Reggie Perrin, did you? That Martin Clune starred in. Oh no, sorry,
no, but she was. Was it Big Train? She was in sketch show or Man Stroke Woman, or both. Man Stroke Woman, I think she was in. Nick Frost. Anyway, sorry,
she was in Big Train. But anyway, yeah. But great actress anyway, and a great supporting cast by the look of it as well. And it's essentially the story of a woman who's just been released from prison after 18 years. And I understand we don't know why, do we?
I didn't know that, but I got the setup about the prison. I wonder whether I'm going to be convinced, but that's the joy of comedy slabbing. Whether she's just a bit too posh to have been in prison all that time. But
okay, how does that work then? So you're a murderer, but you're too posh. But you're quite posh. So
we'll let you off.
Community
That's how
service.
it works, isn't it? Ford Open Prison.
I don't think so. So that's for next week anyway. So that's we'll do series 1, episode 1, shall we? Just so we get in on the ground floor.
Yeah. Back to Life. It always makes me think it's the Soul to Soul classic. Sorry, just making notes, going off mic. Back to Life. Anyway, that's enough of that before we get sued for copyright or I get sued for bad singing. I've got this memory of... no, let's do it next week. A nice little anecdote about Soul to Soul.
Oh, okay.
It is vaguely relevant, but it's touching and, yeah, that can wait. So, to anti-social media, we are at Comedy Slab on Twitter. Do please follow us there and like us, if you will. If you like, on Facebook. We are also at Comedy Slab. You've got to have a system, as Harry Hill says.
And don't forget there are lots of places you can find the Comedy Slab podcast as well. And thanks to everybody who is either downloading or subscribing, because we get the figures for both, and it's quite nice to see that there are people doing both. It's quite nice to see that people are downloading it and then subscribing. So that's
what we like.
Even nicer, isn't it? Really. So thanks to that, Spreaker, Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, the usual places. If you just put Comedy Slab in, and we've got a Twitter feed which gives you all the information and links as well. As Adrian said, you can go on the Twitter feed there and
the electric Twitter.
Catch the links.
Yeah.
So until next time, I'm going to rent a great big house and. And tell everybody about my divorce settlement, which I haven't got yet, technically speaking, but...
it will come through after this show, I think. I'm going to divorce thee. And
I'm sure by the time I go and see the wife that she'll be quite generous, and she'll at least give me the frying pan around the back of the head.
Yes, and you might get a separate room on the promise of doing childcare duties for at least one of your 2 young children. I am going to lounge by the pool. Did I tell you it's got a pool? This country house has got a pool.
So I'll be by the pool.
The pool cast. Bye-bye for now.